You get every single penny's worth with Claudia and her team. It was the best money I have ever spent.
This is Just Call Claudia, a podcast for right-sizing your life and demystifying your relocation. Today, I am joined by Arline Kaufman and her husband, Dr. Barry Kaufman. I'm going to put the Kaufmans in my satisfied client bucket, would you say?
I think you can add very, and then very, and then very.
Oh my gosh. Quick bio on the Kaufmans. You might recognize Dr. Barry Kaufman's name because of his great success, his 2 Emmy Awards for Channel 5 on health, and his journalistic assistant, Arline, who over the years raising their sons and collaborating, which I kind of get a little joked up over. I think it's so cool because I saw the synergy between the two of you always. I know there might have been eye rolls once in a while, but what I just saw right there and the smile that you two have is, and everyone knows I do a little crying once in a while, but it's such a joy to see that between two people who have shared so much, shared challenges, raising children, creating careers, I'm sure often not in the same direction at all times, but the two of you, and the reason you're here is because, number one, we enjoyed working with you and continue to have our relationship with you, but to be able to go with you on the journey from a home of 41 years and make such a pivotal move for you into a gorgeous condo that you visualized before I think I ever met you, right? So that's why I got a little verklempt, right? I was just like, oh my gosh, this is real, and to be here with you, and it's almost 3 years of a relationship, and you're happily ensconced on Sheridan Road in Wilmette. I can't ask for more.
Well, it's been 53 years for the two of us.
Oh, I love it.
And you made the daunting doable. Because I don't think there's, at least in our lives, the idea of moving from a house that we've been in almost 40 years to the condo was daunting. But you and your team made it doable, and you made it possible for us to downsize without compromise, which was really
I love that.
So cool.
I may have to take that. Downsize without compromise.
It's trademarked, but I'll be happy to give it to you.
Right. Awesome. That's very sweet. Well, as you know, we're going to talk about, sure, it's my business, but my business has only my fabulous team members. And you, I think part of our success together we got to go back to day one. Well, actually, maybe before day one of coming to meet Arline, I was reminding her today how I remember several phone calls, maybe January 3 years ago. You were sussing me out, and I felt it. And you would call, and you wanted clarification. And I remember maybe after the third phone call, and I remember exactly where I was driving in Winnetka, and I remember saying to you know what, let's just set up a meeting. You have to look at me anyway. Let me just stop over. Let's have a conversation. Let me see what you're dealing with. Because you can describe it all day long, but until I'm in the physical plant, so to speak, until I see what your challenges were, what your concerns were, we really didn't have a conversation. And when I walked into your house, and we talked about this the other day, normally where you lived, very traditional neighborhood, we would call it, right? Very state neighborhood, very established neighborhood in Wilmette. I didn't really think anything except when I walked in, I was like, well, this is unusual. This is eclectic. This is bohemian chic.
And you said, and too many legs.
And too many legs.
For 3 years, every decision I make now in the condo, I have to make sure I have no legs.
I'm so sorry.
Since I'm an amateur, I've learned what you mean by legs. That is the legs on a chair. How many
legs
how
on
many
the
legs?
table.
And now I walk around looking at places, checking out how many legs there are.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize there was trauma involved in
Yeah,
all
there
this.
is.
so much
There is. There is. I'm looking for a rehab program.
Oh my gosh, maybe I'll have to subsidize it. I'm so sorry. But meeting you and then meeting Barry, obviously, and you were pretty much, I think, from the beginning, all right, let's get going, because you had so many items pre-planned. You had fabrics for me to consult with you. And of course, Barry had his man cave that was the epicenter of activity for months.
Grand Central Playroom.
Grad Center Playroom. And his, what's the simulator called? It's
Well, I use it for a truck, but it's
right.
It's a steering wheel and pedals and shifting monitor.
Right.
And you can basically submerge yourself, emerge yourself into another world.
Right.
And I just drive big tractor trailer trucks.
Long distance.
Right.
I remember
Right. Oh, yeah.
being in the mountains in Utah with you, thinking, I think this is in real time.
I know it's amazing because
It's
with
pretty-
today's graphics
Right.
and the GPS, you're going through Utah when you go through Utah.
And it was like 3:30 at rush hour, and people were pulling into you. It was a trip. In and of itself, it was a trip. And also the drum kit.
Ah, yes, the electronic drums.
Electronic drums, passion for, hold for it, tabletop train.
Right. I mean, it was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful place. And what you were able to do, and what Mara and Damien and Melissa, the team was able to do, was to take this very large, sort of, depending upon who you are, out of control area. For me, it was very much in control, and just
It was wild.
and just distill it down to its essence, and enabled us to move basically with who we were, our personality as represented by things. We're able to translate that to a much smaller space.
A much different space.
And it turns out that I relate to it more than I did to the previous one, because now it's only the things that really, really, really matter. And I'm sure that most people with whom you work, the biggest problem they have is, what do we keep? What do we throw away? Our kids have told us, we don't want it.
Oh.
And I think a lot of people, I think we thought that our kids would want much more than, no.
It can be a challenge because our children all have their own homes and they have their
Right.
own aesthetic and they have their own behaviors.
Right.
While they applaud you and while they have wonderful memories, and that's the hardest thing for adults, for the parents, you have the memories of them growing and they have those memories too, but now they're making memories in their own home.
Right.
And
And I think they want to keep the memories for what they are in the past.
right. Right.
We have one piece of furniture that one of our kids wanted, the Ethan Allen table that looks like teeth in a gear.
Oh, sure.
Right. So it rotates around.
Right. Okay.
Why he wanted it, I have no idea. But it's still there, and it's still being used. What's now 50 years later?
You had your challenges with your books. Remember that room that was off the back area where that wonderful daybed was?
Oh, the wow room. Yeah.
The wow room. That was so adorable. And then the other auxiliary office room.
Yes.
That was just bookcases and books, and you wanted to make it a seamless move. But how did you find out about me/us? I can't remember.
It was through our realtors where we bought the condo. Carrie Healy was the selling realtor.
Oh, good to know. I didn't know that.
Roseanne O'Donnell and Stan Thoren were were our realtors.
Got it.
And they all knew each other.
Right.
So when they were discussing how are we going to do this, Carrie mentioned you. And I had called a couple of people who didn't have major companies. To me, they were just small operations. But when I called you, you had the entire operation. You had a team. You were a decorator, designer, consultant. I never know what to refer to you as.
That's all awesome. As long as you just call Claudia. You can call
That's
me anything
it,
you
Jimmy.
want. Had to say that, sorry.
It's okay. And when I spoke to you, and I don't remember, it was several times, but probably knowing me and my attention to detail, I had to be sure, because I would say probably your prices were higher, which is great. And I will tell people, you get every single penny's worth with Claudia and her team. It was the best money I have ever spent. And I have friends who are considering moves, and I always mention you. And if you're going to do it, you have to call Claudia.
Love it.
Because there wasn't anything I had to think about in this process. You did everything. There wasn't.
We were partners.
We were a great team.
We were partners. You did lots of legwork for the reupholstery. You had samples for me. You know, we just collaborated on that. Your taste was very established. You wanted updated. We maintained. The only thing that you bought was new was that sofa,
Yes.
right?
Sofa,
Right.
and I have since added 4-barrel chairs that have no legs.
I
Reducing those legs on a daily
Reducing the
basis.
legs.
Good job. And you
Getting-
bought a new dining room table.
Yes.
Just recently.
And you made a traditional bohemian, and what made a bohemian for people who we can't zoom into your gorgeous property is because of your travels. Every piece, I mean, we talked about every piece had meaning. Every piece was purchased. Was it China? Was it Germany? Was it France? Korea.
India.
India, the photos, the photo wall. I remember when we went to do your powder room, I said, this is going to be the travel. This is going to be the photos from all your trips in your powder room, because this is just so interesting. People will forget why they're in there, you know.
The reason I mentioned Korea is that I was
Yes.
stationed there in the Army
Okay.
in the late 60s.
I remember
And
the
as you
wall
walk
hanging,
in,
right?
Right. And of course, I was a bachelor and didn't know anything about anything. Of course, I'm a man, so I still don't know anything about anything. But,
So sorry.
but I did bring back some beautiful piece of furniture and various paintings, and that kind of started, and then we traveled. I'd like to get back to the two of you. I loved watching how the two of you, how your minds merged as each new hurdle had to be, overcome, and that by the merging of those minds, the outcome each time was absolutely super, and it was really fun to watch that.
Well, we had fun.
Yeah, because I knew that Arline was supported by somebody who she could trust. You know, I think that's a very difficult thing for people to be able to do when you're at that.
Amazing.
When your lives or how you live, when it's on the line, you know, how do you give it over to somebody else? I think you would ask me about how comfortable I was having somebody basically go through my personal possessions.
Right.
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 I mean,
That was
come and look through my drawers.
Totally.
Nobody wants anybody looking through their drawers.
No.
And I was the idea was not very appealing, but then magically your team appeared one day, and there was Mara, and there was Damien, and there was Melissa. And after the first day, it became apparent that what they were doing was they were going to take a journey with me back through time, back through the memories represented by all the stuff. They came in and they went through with me all of it. And they showed an interest in the history that they were being exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought out in me a memory of things that I had forgotten. They actually made my looking back at my life more worthwhile because somebody was there up close and personal saying, oh, that's really cool, or, oh, you did that, or what was that like? And we would have discussions about that. And then the wonderful thing was, and I think this is really important, things that I was not going to keep, they knew how to donate and where to donate.
Oh, very sweet.
So it really encouraged me because I knew that stuff was going to go to places
Right.
where it had a chance of being used. And that was really, really important.
That's really
and
good
then the
point.
stuff that was hopeless, that got trashed. But that's fine. They knew where to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, everything,
Right.
and there were a lot of days. We spent a lot of time together.
A lot of days.
At the end of the day, the trash was out. The stuff to be donated was in your cars, going to the right places. And so, I never had the feeling that that this wasn't a really good thing to do, both for me and for whoever might benefit from some of the weird things that had been donated.
Right.
That
Yeah.
that really is very important. That everything, from anything,
Right.
your team knew where to take it.
Right.
This
Yeah.
was. I didn't have to worry
No.
if I wanted it donated, if I wanted it sold.
Right.
You were very honest because it's very hard to sell anything.
It was.
It really is
was.
difficult.
We researched somebody, I remember nearby. He didn't have, we know all the people, and then there are always more people cropping up. But you always have to balance what someone is paying us to do. What are you going to gain from it? We always try to represent the bottom line for you because we still want to be invited back the next day, and we're careful with people's money as much as cost is always something that has to be forefront of mind. The more items you have in the house, and the more you feel, the stronger you feel today. Like you said, the money was well spent, but the reason, whatever that dollar figure was, is my people are well paid, and they are professionals.
Right.
They are highly educated, and they love what they're doing because of what you just said. We learn, we take away as much from our clients as we give. We gain because of what you give. And kind of who has a perfect job like that?
And the crazy thing was, or not the crazy, the wonderful thing was, after we had spent all of those days that actually added up to weeks, gleaning, going through everything, what wound up in the new place, either on the walls
Right.
or on shelves, in my room, which is now
love
not
your
the Grand Central Playroom anymore. It's sort of like, maybe the Belmont stop on the CTA.
Okay.
But it has exactly what should have been there.
Yeah.
And now when people come in and take a look through our place, they can see, in one moment exactly
Right.
where we came from, who we are.
Right. It's curated. It's not
Yes.
overly curated.
Oh, that's good. That's a
but
great.
the curation
Yeah.
really came from you. We just were able to combine it,
Right.
and you did all the hard work of making the decisions, right?
Right. But it wouldn't. But that hard work was catalyzed by having, Mars sitting there with me.
Right, right.
And
Right.
and sometimes we discussed it.
I love it.
Is this worth keeping? Is this not worth keeping?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we waited a couple of days to make a decision. I mean, it's not like it was life and death.
Right,
I mean,
no.
that's the other thing.
It
too,
was-
not taking ourselves too seriously. I mean, if everything had been thrown at, we'd still be there and we'd still be married 53 years. but the idea that we could keep things that meant so much to us, and moving to a place where they could be seen for the first
you
time.
did such a
I
great
think you'll
job in
remember
place.
about our house. It was wonderful. It was a 1937 house.
Right.
Just great. What we could afford at the time, our kids were 3 and 10 when we moved in there, so they only remember that move and our move to the new place. But that place didn't have much lighting.
No.
It was pretty dark.
It was
and
dark.
so, all of the pictures.
Yeah, to your point, you couldn't
See them.
You couldn't really see them.
Right.
But don't you remember, like you're walking into your gorgeous space, everything was more beautiful.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything it shines, and you're one level.
I would walk up and say, "Is this ours?"
Yeah.
Oh, that was the thing we've had for 40 years.
What-
Oh, it's
what a
really,
joy.
Really nice.
But then the day I looked at Arline and we're talking about pillows for some space, and there's an Asian throw that
was-
gorgeous silk.
It was a comforter that we
Comforter.
bought in China
Okay.
with the silkworm quilt inside of it that they wove there. And this is the one thing that I talk about all the time. Claudia said, "What are you doing? What are you going to do with that fabric or that quilt?" I don't know. It was folded on a chair, maybe.
Right.
I don't.
Right.
And you said, "Well, I had a day bed that I was reupholstering," and she said, "Let's make giant pillows out of the fabric." And here again, your idea. You found the place to make the pillows. You took it.
Yeah, but
I
you
had
lived
to
with that
do-
quilt. We could have put it over the end of your bed, but you were kind of nonplussed about it. You were kind of like, "Oh, I don't know, that old thing." And I'm like, "No, this is history. This is part of your travels."
And it's so
We
gorgeous.
want our clients. We want them to keep as many special things because that's your identity. I don't want
Right.
someone coming in my house and taking away my beautiful things.
Well,
even
I
if
never
even if
even-
they aren't so beautiful, they're still mine, and I love
Right.
them. Right?
I would never in a million years have thought about making pillows out of the silk on this comforter.
That was collaboration.
Right, and they're gorgeous.
They're gorgeous.
And then I coordinated the pillows on the daybed with the color of the pillow,
Right?
the pillows that we made, and it is such a stunning piece.
And now you have a new art piece over your bed, I understand,
so-
that
Yes.
brings in that red again.
right,
Right.
so as
Yeah.
there's, there's a touch of France in my big living space.
I love it.
And then in the bedroom, I was going to go gray, since that's the new color.
Right.
And it was, gray. But then you added the reddish, burgundyish, large
beautiful.
Chinese
Rich.
fabric.
So rich. Yeah.
And I have since then, I bought a piece to go over the bed, which is also all gray, but has a red tree in the middle of it.
Love it.
Just that pop of
Got to get
color.
over there and see it.
That the pop is also on the daybed. And then I brought my 2 old dining room chairs.
Oh.
Now that I got rid of my dining room set,
Right.
I kept 2 of the chairs
good.
that also have red upholstery.
Oh, I remember that. Sure.
And so we made a seating area,
In your bedroom.
right, which we actually sat at last night to talk about the questions for today.
Oh.
It's our meeting
What's really
space.
cool, he said, Arlene found somebody to play house with.
We did.
We did.
I'm still coming over to play house. I've got to see the
And
new
you guys
table.
You guys were, and that made me feel good because I had absolutely no idea what was going on. But when I saw it, I said, "Oh, boy, that's really neat." I walked through the place. I would have never. This was an undreamt dream. I would have never imagined when we lived in our first studio apartment back in Fort Lee, New Jersey, when we married.
Studio?
Yeah, it was my bachelor apartment.
That was love.
We divided it. The bed was on one side. There was a freestanding,
Screen?
see-through bookcase.
Oh, bookcase,
sort of thing.
Okay.
And then a couch on the other
Creative.
side.
Oh,
that was it.
Just a tiny little room.
But to think that we would have wound up all these years later, as I walk through our condo, I just marvel, and the newness hits me every morning. It's like seeing it for the first time, and that sounds like a real exaggeration, but I feel it that way. It's like, wow, well, look what they did.
Look
they did
what
here.
you all did.
They made this come alive in a way that this ideally will be our last home until we get put in the home. Is really, really, really beyond anything that Arline and I would have thought about when we were kids together. And that makes it even sweeter.
It's so
and again,
sweet.
so much of this is because of the partnership with you and Arline together.
You also
really
placed all the furniture. You took all my furniture and
That
decided
was in regular old rooms, right?
Right.
The dining room, the living
Right.
room.
It's all one now.
traditional.
Yes.
It is. Well, it's I said to you, it's like a unique boutique hotel lobby. That's kind of what it looks like. It looks like the concierge should be sitting at the dining room table
Right.
taking dinner reservations for you. I mean, really, it's very sophisticated. But that was your ability to, all along the way, procure unusual things that we could bring together and do little vignettes. Your vignettes are fabulous.
For people who are either watching or listening to this, just to give a sense of perspective, when we moved into this place, and it's about 2,500 square feet, and there was a big living room kind of area, and then sort of a den area here, with half walls and a doorway. Well, with the two of you, and Arline had seen this right from the beginning when we walked in the first day and looked at it, was to take the walls down and make this one giant room. And you say it looked like a hotel lobby. There are times to me it looks like the furniture department at Macy's.
Not even close.
When you come up the escalator, and you come off the escalator, and all of a sudden you see the beds there, and you see some sofas there, and you see things there.
It's
because
awesome.
there are no walls.
No, it's so special. And the
everything
lake is
out there.
beyond. I mean, that's I
Yeah,
mean,
we happen to
it's
be on
very,
the lake,
it's
which is crazy.
Very sophisticated. Very sophisticated. No, but because you gave us the components, and we kind of definitely reconfigured them.
You did.
And I just want to know, do you every once in a while say, "Oh, let's go sit over here tonight"? I hope you do.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And, kind of mix it up a little bit.
Oh, we
And
do.
then
We have
the two chairs in the window to enjoy.
That's the indoor balcony.
Right, that's the indoor
where
balcony.
we can see the lake from
Right.
just through the
Gorgeous
floor to
windows.
ceiling glass, and then that's our lake room.
Right.
And then we can move to the Michigan room, which is behind us, which is not a room.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
an imaginary
Furniture.
line.
But
just
it's
furniture.
nothing is, and then you've got your TV viewing area and your dining room adjacent to
It's
your
more
amazing
it's
new
more
kitchen.
than we ever expected or deserved.
Yeah,
So
no, it's fantastic.
crazy good.
We talked about how you allowed our team, you welcomed I think there became a point where it was so, what's the word, collegial, that it was very, I always checked in as best I could every day, every
Right,
other
right.
day. Mara and Damien, I knew they had you covered. And then we add other resources, removing the file cabinets, the amount of paper, the shredding. But you, as I always say to our clients, you are still the boss. You were still the boss.
Absolutely.
And we were the expediters. And as much as we could unearth on any given day, didn't you feel freer?
Oh.
Every day you felt looser and better and more capable of making that move.
Well, your team and they really became like our children.
I know.
They treated him like a dear daddy,
Yeah.
you know, and they were so sweet to
They were.
Barry,
They were.
and
Be nice to the old man.
be nice to the old guy who has so much stuff, and
Right.
but with the rest of the house, they put everything on tables, the dining room table, the living room table, and then I had to look at it. We would go through everything.
You have to
and
take it.
The big phrase that I got from you was editing.
Editing.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Edited
Yeah.
with me.
Right.
And since I'm basically an editor,
Right.
in-
I know,
in-
journalistically.
Right.
journalistically
She's the
and
real
as
journalist.
a college counselor.
I didn't know that about you.
I edited for 20 years all the college essays.
Oh, wow.
That was my, the students wrote the essays, I edited them. So I'm a much better editor than I am a writer.
Well.
So the editing phrase that you use
Right.
was just
It
incredible.
resonated.
It resonated.
Let's
It's
have
been
a party.
great for book club, and it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
great for, yeah,
Yeah.
when I need a
You
large
can have a board
group.
meeting. You can have a board meeting in there.
All of our meetings are boring.
No, I said never
I'm
with
sorry.
you.
I'm
the two
sorry.
of you,
I'm sorry.
never boring. In closing, is there anything else we have to touch on?
I'd like to
Yes.
leave one story that, for me, really encapsulates the humanity that you and your team bring. In the Grand Central Playroom is a 4x9 train set.
Yes.
It's called Bearville because BEAR is Barry, Ethan, Adam, and Ryan.
Right.
And Bearville was built over 20 years and they're from the East Coast, so the grandkids only came occasionally, starting with the oldest, who's now 20, and the youngest, who's now 14. As they came and visited a couple of times a year, together we would decide how we would build this train set out. So by the time we came to move, here's this 4x9 train set, which was just, anybody who came down there thought, oh, this is really, 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 really cool. What are you going to do with it when you move? And I said, I didn't answer because I was never going to move. Well, then came the time to move. The train set could not be taken out because it wouldn't fit upstairs.
wouldn't,
And if it was moved, things would fall off. There were so many details on this,
Right.
this train
I
set.
have a photo of it.
And so Mara and we put it off to the last thing. Finally, I decided if we want to try to save it, have to cut the table in half, and maybe we could take two halves up. And then that didn't work. So finally what we decided to do, and Mara was great, I took pictures of each section. We cut off into little like squares
Okay.
the whole 4x9. Mara very lovingly took these little pieces and packaged them and
great.
bubble wrapped them
I
and
think I've
whatever.
forgotten that.
And we marked which one was what. So we had these boxes filled with this broken down train set. And eventually it was sent off back east to the home there, with the idea that maybe we'll put it together, or I'll put it together some other time. Well, that's never going to happen. It's never going to be put back together again. But the idea that it was given such a classy and dignified death, as it were, I think not only made it possible for me to feel totally comfortable that the train set no longer existed,
Right.
except in the memory, which is even more important, but that it finalized in the happiest way that we were leaving a place where all of our memories of our kids growing up and our grandkids growing up, and we could leave with clear consciences and hearts
And I know we all have enjoyed it, and that relationship is not ending. I know that also. And I'm not lucky enough to keep in contact with all my clients like this because time marches on. But you certainly are so special to us and everyone you touched it, CMFTO, and certainly your team and me. So thank you for being with me today.
Thank you
So important.
having us.
you.
And what a gift you've given me. Thank you.
And you've given us.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. You can follow me on Instagram at CMFTO or check out our website, cmfto.com, to learn more about my business.